Welcome back. Time for this week's Capitol Report with Pat McGuigan of CapitolBeatOK.com. As Pat did his 4th of July weekend here in America, you recently posted a commentary on immigration by Francisco Trevino calling for secure borders and immigration reform. Tell us about his efforts.
It was interesting working with a group called FWD, which I presume means forward.us, FWD.us. Mr. Trevino wrote a commentary I found a lot of merit in. I don't exactly agree with the group entirely, but they've done some interesting research, or pulled it together. One of the things they have found is that certain presidential candidates call for mass deportations of illegals in the United States would cost around $600 billion. Now, the way I checked that out myself a little bit is I found several studies estimating that the cost of a roundup, if you will, of all these folks would be $400 million. And then you can play out the $200 billion addition pretty easily from just studying the data. So I think it's a decent estimate of what it would cost. Now, of course, that certain presidential candidate is evolving his thinking, apparently on some issues, but I do want to say polls show, the Pew Center, for example, has found that 3 out of every 4 Americans would oppose a program of mass deportation. Trevino wrote about, look, it's sort of back to the future. It's trying to recreate the dynamic that almost emerged in 2012, 2013. And that would, let's secure our borders, let's end de facto blanket amnesty, let's create a strict employee verification program and grow our economy. We need a lot of these workers who have originated elsewhere. In fact, we need programs like to actively create entrepreneurship for people that come to this country from elsewhere, but not through executive fiat. You know, I've always been pro-immigration and dissented from the consensus for public view, but I also dissented from the president's attempt to do this through executive fiat. And I agree with the court decision saying you can't do that. We need to resolve this through legislation.
Congress needs to act.
Right. Congress needs to act.
All right. The U.S. Supreme Court, of course, struck down the Texas law requiring hospital equivalent facilities for abortion clinics. Pat, what are the implications for us here in Oklahoma?
Well, of course, this court majority, 5-3, was very dismissive of the health care concerns underlying the motivation for the law in Texas and similar laws in several other states. Real quickly, Missouri, North Dakota, Tennessee are states that already have laws on the book. Alabama, Kansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Oklahoma, and Wisconsin have laws that are at least similar. Now, Justice Breyer argued that there was no merit to the medical arguments that were made and that the states could not pass such legislation. Clarence Thomas, who will surprise no one who's watched us regularly, I tend to agree with, he wrote that this exemplifies the court's troubling tendency to raise some rights above others, including rights that have been judicially crafted and created in the modern era, giving them greater strength and protection than even some of the rights explicitly spelled out in the Constitution. So, no surprise, I agree with Thomas and not with Breyer, and this is not going to end the argument of a abortion policy in America.
You can read more about these and other topics at CapitolBeatOK.com. For Pat McGuigan, I'm Alex Cameron. Have a great day.